Hi guys, just learning for life here, back with another video. And if you don't know, in this past 2 days, or is it 3, there was a big competition of USA versus Uzbekistan Grandmasters, featuring a lot of big players like Hikaru, Fabi, Sinzarov, and Noderbek, and yeah, just very top grandmasters. But today we're gonna look at a game from round 1 of the Rapid. It's Wesley against Vokhidov Shamsiddin. Now let's dive right into it. Wesley chose the English opening, and this very natural stuff. Let's just skip over the opening. Now queen c2, the idea, as you can see, is when bishop takes knight, then you can just take back with the queen right here. But you may ask, why bishop b4? So basically, bishop b4 is trying to discourage d4 because it just activates the pins the knight. But anything else, it's basically just trading the bishop for the knight and saying, I'm gonna employ a queen here, pawn chain on dark squares, and have a very nice bishop and very nice knights. And a3 is basically just stopping any knight or queen hops to b4, d5, d4, taking control of the center. Because if you don't break with d4, then this black center is just too overwhelming, and black may strike with d4 later, or even e4. So of course d4 takes, knight takes, queen takes. You can't take with the pawn because the pawn is pinned. Castles. Now bishop d2 is a very subtle detail. Now you may want to develop this bishop and castle, but actually developing this bishop will lose tempo because after takes, you move the bishop twice. Instead, this is a very common idea, is you want to wait for black to take the pawn and then you take back with the bishop. That's what that way you only need to move the bishop once instead of twice. And also, if we go over this line after takes, there's also rook d8, and black gains 2 tempos right here, tempies. So yeah, very subtle detail, developing this bishop first, gaining a tempo, improving the bishop, now moving this bishop, because even if pawn takes, then you have to take with the queen because the rook is already here. Then there's no point delaying developing this bishop and castling. Now, very good. Wesley just preserving the bishop here that Vokhidov gave him at the start by trading the bishop for the knight. And now more developing. And here, even not castling, because why castle when the king is still safe in center? Look, there's no pieces helping to defend this king side, whilst the middle is still there's nothing going on in the middle just yet. So Wesley develops other pieces for now. Here, attacking this b7 pawn. Now you could defend it with b6, but then bishop f3, and this is a very nice diagonal. But still, I think I prefer b6, because now after you give up this b7 pawn, look at this. Takes, rook b8. If you go with the other rook, like this, then after castling, then this rook is kind of stuck. And there's no rook on the d file, which means that the d file is white's. And yeah, white is just more active than black. So Vokhidov went with the a rook, which after takes, castle, rook a8, here, takes. Then see, after this transformation, white traded all of his queenside pawns for black's queenside pawns, like 2 pawns traded for 2 pawns. And now what is left is a black c pawn, which is a passed pawn because there's no b and d pawn stopping it from white. So this is a passed pawn, but it's still very far from promotion. That's the first point. And it's isolated. So I don't think this passed pawn is a good asset for black. Instead, it's actually a weakness. And the second thing is white has the bishop pair, which you may argue that most pawns are on the same side right here. But then a bishop pair is a bishop pair, I mean. So let's see how Wesley uses this advantage. Firstly, he kicks away the knight, develops a bishop, trades a pair of rooks, because after you trade down a pair of rooks, it's easier, much clearer position. Keeping 2 rooks on the board is very dynamic, and it allows a lot of counterplay and attacking chances for the defending side. So here f3, very good, just blunting this knight with an f3 pawn and just cementing this e4 pawn. Now offering to trade a knight for a bishop, which of course Wesley with a trick up his sleeve can decline, with exploiting the weak back rank and just protecting the bishop with the king. So now Wesley is activating his king. Here rook c1, just placing the rook in front of the weakness. And ch4 is just a very thematic move, gaining space, maybe pushing h5, but make sure you don't push it like into the bishop's way if you can't defend this h5 pawn. So maybe just hold on a little bit, because if you push h5, bishop f7, g4, this is not a good shape for your kingside pawns. Bishop f7, yeah, you see what, oops. Let's go back. I keep pressing the wrong buttons. Alright, right here. You see Wesley blocks the weakness, immobilizes the weakness, and then just attacks it. And now it's gone, right? Knight e5. Wesley doesn't even rush to take it. c6. He can kick the knight away one time. Now g3 defending, and another time kicking it away. You see the knight is not stable. It is just be kicked away like everywhere. It doesn't have a stable square, a stable outpost. So that's why the bishops are shining better than the knight. And you see when Wesley played h5, it's nicely defended by the bishop and not scared of this f7 bishop. Here he traded off because he had a concrete reason of trading a weakness for a good pawn, because now Wesley with all his activated pieces, he can just go c8, and now black is basically immobilized. Like if you're trying to unpin, then already bishop d3 and you're in another pin. And if you do like nothing, let's say like rook d3, then I'll just move my bishop away. My next move is just bishop b4 to target the knight. And here black can still hold with rook e8, and this is still a draw. So maybe white won't go bishop a5 yet, but if white doesn't do it, then what else can you do? So maybe keeping the rook around here is the best way. But Vokhidov went for something else. A more dynamic way to play for a draw in this position is to sack the exchange for a pawn. Which, I mean, with perfect play, it's still drawn. But I won't say this is really dead drawn, because what you see later in the game, here you see a lot of shuffling. Right here, I don't really need to explain all this. This is just pure shuffling. And f5, okay, maybe Wesley trying to push away the knight again, giving it g5, but then activating the king, more repeating. Yeah, here g6. So what was Vokhidov maybe scared of? He was scared of maybe a king walking into here and a rook down here. So we can see if Vokhidov just stays put. Here, just bishop takes and then already f6. And this is totally winning. So, yeah, I think Vokhidov just ran out of ideas right here. You have to go knight f3, avoid bishop takes g5 first. And then you have to break with h4. And then f5 becomes a weakness. So that is the drawing plan for Vokhidov. Now that's why I'm saying with perfect play it's drawn, but this is not dead drawn. White could push, definitely could push for a win right here, and that's what happened because Vokhidov blundered g6 right here. G6, why is bad? Because it just weakens this whole structure. And just with the rook d6, and look at this 6th rank, everything is getting attacked by the rook. Now king g7 and bishop takes g5, and yeah, Vokhidov just resigned here and Wesley got the win. Why? Because after takes and then rook takes with check and rook take with another pawn would run into king f6. So maybe don't do that, but instead just move to king d5, king e5, and then take the pawn, and then there's some sacking the rook for the bishop and the pawn ideas, and that's obviously winning. If bishop takes, then now you can take, because if king f6 and rook takes h5, and that's definitely winning. You're up a pawn. And if just bishop g4, there's always a rook sack for the bishop idea. So yeah, that's a pretty nice game. That's literally what I wanted to show you, is how you exploit a tiny weakness, the c7 isolated pawn, and how you could really use your bishop pair and activate your pieces, how the bishops are better than a knight. You saw how the knight was always kicked away, but the bishops were very stable. They could attack from long distances and like protect pawns. And yeah, that's it. That's the first game of this recap series. Stay tuned for the next run. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.